Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. I never thought a sentence could rattle through my chest the way hers did that morning. I was sitting at the kitchen counter tying my shoes for work when Maris glanced at me over her mug and said, almost casually, I'm flying out tonight. Girls' trip. Don't like it? Get a divorce. She said it like she was asking me to pass the salt. My name is Alden, and for most of our 6-year marriage, I convinced myself that Maris's sharp edges were just part of her charm. She was witty, bold, loud in a way people admired at first, sharp enough to draw blood but bright enough to make you laugh while it happened. I used to think that meant she was fearless. Later, I realized it meant she never feared the consequences of her own words. That morning, though, something inside me shifted. Not anger, not heartbreak, just quiet. A cold, steady clarity. Like a door I didn't know was unlocked finally pushed itself open. Did we talk about this trip? I asked. She rolled her eyes like the question itself bored her. Alden, it's just a weekend. I need space. You're too. I don't know. Sensitive lately. She walked past me, tapping her nails against the counter. Then she added with a smirk, besides, the girls said I deserve some fun. Don't wait up. People talk about final straws. They imagine something dramatic. Cheating, screaming fights, broken plates. But sometimes the final straw is said in a soft voice over a cup of lukewarm coffee. Sometimes it's just a sentence that tells you exactly what you mean to someone. She packed lightly. She always did. A single carry-on, 3 outfits, half a dozen reasons to ignore me. When she left that evening, she kissed the air next to my cheek and said, try not to miss me too much. I didn't reply. I watched her walk out the door, watched the taillights fade down the street, and for the first time in years, the house was silent in a way that didn't hurt. I sat at the table for a long time, staring at the spot where her mug had been. Then I reached into the drawer where we kept documents we never thought we'd use. Warranty papers, old tax forms, and the envelope with blank legal templates I'd once printed during a fight we both pretended we'd forgotten. I filled in the divorce petition slowly, carefully. Not out of spite, out of truth. By the time I finished, the sky outside was a dark, rain-heavy slate. I set the papers in the center of the table, smoothed the edges, and exhaled. A long, deep breath I didn't know I'd been holding for years. The first night she was gone, I slept better than I had in months. Not because I wanted to be alone. God knows no one wants that. But because the silence didn't feel like punishment anymore. She didn't text me much during the trip. A photo of a cocktail. A blurry picture of a beach I knew she hadn't researched herself. A group shot where she wasn't quite touching her friends but smiled wide enough to convince herself she was happy. Every caption felt like a performance. Having the best time. I needed this. Self-care weekend. Not once did she ask how I was. Not once did she ask if I wanted to talk. By the second night, something strange happened. I realized I didn't care. Not in the bitter way. Not in the I hope she suffers way some men fall into. I just didn't care anymore. It was like trying to read a book you used to love and realizing the words don't land the same. The morning she returned, the sun was bright and obnoxiously cheerful. The way daylight always feels on days you know will change your life. I heard her key in the lock, then her familiar, breezy voice. Alden? I'm home. You won't believe the stories I have. Her luggage wheels clicked across the floor like punctuation marks to a sentence she didn't know was ending. She rounded the corner with that self-satisfied smile she wore whenever she believed she had won some invisible, unspoken game. Then she saw the papers. She froze. The grin slipped first, then the color. Her eyes went wide, blinking like she hadn't practiced a reaction for this scenario. Alden, what is this? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't make a scene. I pointed at the table and said the same words she had gifted me 4 days earlier. Quiet, exact, and final. Paper on the table. Bags packed. Get out. Her face went pale instantly. And for the first time in our marriage, she had nothing, absolutely nothing to say. For a long moment, Maris just stood there, staring at the divorce papers as if the words themselves were written in a language she didn't recognize. Then she looked at me, like she expected the old version of Alden to appear, the one who apologized first, softened the blow, and made everything easier for her. But that version of me had quietly packed his bags days ago. You're not serious," she said, her voice thin and cracked around the edges. "Alden, come on. Don't be dramatic." The irony of her saying that, after years of dismissing every feeling I ever dared to voice, would have been funny if it didn't sting so much. "I'm not being dramatic," I replied. "I'm being done." Her eyes darted from my face to the suitcase I had already placed by the hallway. Not my suitcase. Hers. The same one she had carried out the door 4 days earlier like freedom lived inside it. She moved toward me, slowly, almost cautiously. "Alden, listen. I didn't mean what I said. I was joking. The girls were hyping me up, and you told me to get a divorce if I didn't like it," I said. "So I did." She blinked hard, as if trying to reset something inside her head. "I didn't think you'd actually. Why didn't you talk to me? Why didn't you say anything before I left?" I took a breath. Not a shaky one, not an angry one, just steady. "Because that was the moment I realized you didn't care if I stayed or left. You weren't joking, Maris. You were daring me." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Okay, fine. Maybe I was annoyed. Maybe I pushed too far. But a divorce? Over one comment. One comment, I said quietly. Spoken like a woman who stopped considering me weeks, months, maybe years ago. She stepped back like the words struck her. And maybe they did. Truth has a way of doing that. Then came the familiar shift, the one I had seen in countless arguments. Her shoulders straightened. Her expression hardened. She went from confused to defensive in a heartbeat. "So that's it? You're punishing me because I took a trip with my friends?" She snapped. "No," I said. "I'm ending something that ended long before the trip. You just finally said it out loud." Her voice rose. "You can't just decide this without discussing it. Marriage takes work, Alden. You don't just walk away when it's inconvenient." "That's rich coming from you," I said, with a soft laugh that surprised even me. "Because that's exactly what you did. You walked away every time things required effort. Communication, too much. Respect, optional. Partnership, only when it benefited you." She swallowed, her throat bobbing. I didn't walk away. I looked at her, really looked at her, at the woman I had tried so hard to love through excuses, through cold shoulders, through indifference disguised as independence. "Yes," I said, "you did. You walked away a long time ago. This is just the first time you noticed I'm not following." For a second, something like genuine remorse flashed across her face. But remorse is easy. Change is hard. And Maris had always been more fluent in regret than responsibility. She sat down at the table, staring at the papers with her hands trembling slightly. "Alden, please don't do this. I was stupid. I was careless. I know, but we can fix it. We always do." "No," I murmured. "We don't. I fix it. You ignore it. And then we pretend it's mutual." She wiped under her eyes quickly, as though she didn't want me to see the tears. "I don't want a divorce." "You already asked for one," I said softly. "I didn't mean it. But I did." Her breath hitched, and for the first time in years, I saw her panic not because she feared losing control, but because she finally realized she had none left. When she eventually signed the papers, her hands shook so violently that she had to steady herself against the table. She didn't look at me. She didn't speak. She didn't argue again. The silence in the room felt different now, heavier, not because of what was ending, but because of how long it had been ending without either of us admitting it. She took her suitcase and paused at the doorway. "If I walk out now," she whispered, "there's no going back." "I know," I said. Do you really not love me anymore?" I looked at her with an honesty I owed both of us. "I loved you enough for two people for a long time, but love doesn't survive alone." Her eyes glistened. "And you really want me to leave?" I didn't answer with words. I just stepped aside and held the door open. She broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet, heartbreaking crumble of someone who finally realized the game she'd been playing wasn't a game to begin with. When the door closed behind her, I let out a breath I hadn't realized was caged inside me. Not relief, not victory, just peace. The kind that comes when you stop trying to glue together something that was designed to fall apart. And for the first time in years, the silence felt like freedom.